Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my guest is Chase Bailey. Chase is the founder and CTO of Premier Web Development, and they help service-based businesses get new leads from Google through custom-tailored SEO campaigns. They use the in-depth backlink analysis of their prospects' competition to find exactly what it will take to get you to the top. Welcome to the show, Chase Bailey.
Thank you.
Well, I am really looking forward to getting deep into this. I know there's a lot of discussion about SEO always and what's working and what's not working, but backlinking seems to be one thing that has stayed really important. So before we get deep into that, give us a little bit of a background into Premier Web Development and yourself.
Sure. So me and my partner at Premier, we've been around for about 3 years now, but we have quite a bit of experience before that. So I'm sure you're familiar with, GoDaddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're the biggest registrar of all time. The biggest hosting company nobody's ever really heard of. So the biggest hosting company out there is Endurance International, and they actually own pretty much every other host you've ever heard of outside of GoDaddy. So, sites like Bluehost or HostGator, iPage, Fat Cow, and about 50 to 60 other different brands. They actually own as one giant umbrella company. They have, one giant support floor. All their services are basically handled through the same place. And me and my business partner, we both actually worked there for several years beforehand, doing a lot of what we do today, but unfortunately kind of dumbed down and forced to do it their way, which didn't really help customers and, really wasn't making us that happy. So we slowly built this business on the side and decided to move on our own about 3 years ago. And we've been, pretty successful ever since.
Excellent. So tell me about the kinds of clients that you have there at Premier Web Development.
So the bulk of our clients are local service-based businesses. So, that's for us, it's the perfect sweet spot on being able to deliver in a reasonable amount of time, so that they're not, if you have a huge competitive, national keyword, a lot of times those things will take, a year or more to really build up against. But if you have a service-based business, a plumber or a fire protection company, just any really local service-based business, especially if they've been around for a couple of years and they've already had a domain or a website sitting there, kind of just building a little bit of trust. That's our ideal client, because those are the type of clients that we can push up for their keywords and bring them new prospects for themselves that didn't even know they existed before. So, when somebody goes into Google and they just need a local dentist and they type in, Gilbert dentist or something like that, that's our ideal client. We can help them, push them up to the top of our organic search pretty quickly.
And these local-based clients are really the backbone of the American, business here. They are the ones that are producing all the money. And where are you based? Is it Chandler, Arizona, or are you in Gilbert?
Yeah, we're in Chandler. Yeah, we do rank on the first page for most of the cities around here, though. So, like Queen Creek, Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert, Chandler, pretty much all those cities are right up there at the top of the first page. So we have clients from all over the area.
And that's a question that I will want to get into later is, how as a location-based business, you're able to rank in all these different cities at once. But before we get into that, tell me what are the problems that these local businesses are having and why they need your help.
Well, typically a local business, they're without doing anything, they're not usually, typically going to have very many links. They're not usually going to have any like news source links, or they're not going to have links from other relevant sources in their industry. Sometimes we'll see ones like, like a lawyer, obviously, they're going to have their state bar website, which will often have like a profile for them and link over. But the majority of these businesses don't have, really any type of link base that they've naturally accrued. So we help
And
them.
is that still the same in 2018, knowing that that has been something that has worked for the past 10, 15 years? Are there still plenty of companies out there that just have no linking at all?
There are plenty of companies that have no linking at all. And there's also plenty of companies that have, come to us after being burned by somebody else. We'll have somebody come to us and, they're a local business, but they'll have 200 or 300 different referring domains, or basically websites that are linking over to them, and they're all garbage. They're all stuff that's really actually hurt them. And even though, Google, like in their webmaster tools, they might not show a penalty or anything like that, but we can clearly see that they have a penalty, because we can through our analysis, we'll find out that, like their major keywords, like words that are in their title tags, their descriptions, and in their pages, they're nowhere to be found for. And if you go do like a Google search for, site : their domain name, oftentimes basically it'll be anything that hasn't been linked to that actually shows up. So they'll get de-indexed for a lot of those pages.
And that certainly is a problem. But what are the main problems then? They're just not showing up for SEO, therefore getting no traffic?
Yeah. So we have people that are spending a ton of money in pay-per-click, but it's usually businesses that our ideal business is somebody that's mildly successful. They all right. They provide a good service and they have a decent customer base, and they have obviously the funds to be able to pay for a marketing campaign. But typically they're just not anywhere to be found in search for their general keywords that they'd want to get found for. Like I was saying, like those, Gilbert Plumber or something like that. That's a search for somebody that doesn't have a company in mind, and is trying to find a company to fulfill that service. And that's their general need. We get them up there in front of that search.
And you talked about some of these big national campaigns taking a year or more to rank for some of their main keywords. But what about the local? Is there still competition in local from all these other companies that have been using SEO practices for the past 5-10 years? Is there still a way to rank somebody that hasn't had any links at all?
Yes, absolutely. So there definitely is a leniency that Google has. When they slapped on Panda and Penguin, they slapped the worst of the worst, and obviously even some of the ones that are pretty borderline. But there's a lot of companies out there that still rank really well that weren't really too abusive with links. But they're still not the best like link makeup. It's not what we would do now to push them to the top. So a lot of times the competition is there, and it does take time. It might take 6 months or so to even break into the first page. But it's absolutely possible.
So SEO is, it is a long play. You talked about the pay-per-click, that works well. And as long as you're making a profit from it, is good. But as soon as you turn it off, your leads stop as well. So SEO is definitely that long-term strategy. So tell me, Chase, what really works now to get somebody ranked well with SEO?
So Ahrefs is by far my favorite tool, right? So typically with a lot of our clients, and this is actually one way we get most of our clients is through breaking down and giving essentially all the information that they would need to be able to even do it themselves, but most of the time don't have the skill set to do so. So, what we would start off by doing is, taking a look at a client's backlinks in Ahrefs, as well as one or two of their top competitors for those, generic keywords that they want to get found for. Oftentimes they're going to have some industry relevant links, but more often than not, they're really not going to. They're going to have a whole bunch of kind of random unrelated links from decent authority sites. So what Google wants to see now from a backlink perspective, and obviously Google tells you not to worry about backlinks. They tell you shouldn't be doing any of this kind of stuff, but it still does work. So you want high authority sites that are related to your industry. Like one of the biggest things you can actually have for a backlink is to have one of your keywords in the domain of the site that's linking over to you. That's absolutely one of the biggest things. The other thing that a lot of people get wrong now is their anchors. So, obviously with Panda and Penguin, they slapped real hard on people that were abusing anchor spam. And that's, it makes perfect sense. If you hand out your website to 100 different companies and you say, hey, can you all link back to me? And you don't give them any instruction on what to link back, the vast majority of those links are going to come back as your branding. So it's going to come back as your business name. It's going to come back as different versions of your URLs, maybe a couple of different random pages throughout your site. But that's going to be the majority of it. You're only going to have a handful of descriptive links that actually talk about, a service or location or something like that. So that's something that a lot of people get wrong. They think that, oh yeah, I'll just make every like fourth or fifth link or something, my service and my location. And that's just way overkill. For 100 links, you should only have, 3 or 4 or 5 that are completely different variations, but kind of the same relevant thing that they're talking about around those keywords you're trying to get ranked for.
And that was what worked maybe 10 years ago, where anchor text everything was what was driving sites up on Google. So how do you recover from that over optimization of the anchor text now?
It depends on how bad it is. So if you have a site that, where they have 200 referring domains and, even a quarter of them are the same anchor text, the same spam, 99% of the time nowadays, that site is not going to rank for that keyword. It's going to be nowhere to be found. If you go search that keyword, they won't be anywhere in the first 10 pages. So it depends on, how established they already are, how long that domain's been around, what it's going to take to dilute that anchor text. But usually anything that's that bad, we're typically going to recommend getting a new domain name. We're going to 301 that old domain name to a new one and start building a fresh profile, because they are going to get a lot of power. They're still going to get a lot of that authority transfer and power from 301ing, basically forwarding their old domain name over to their new domain name. But being able to start off with a fresh, being able to control everything off the bat will actually make that a lot easier, faster, and less expensive for them than having to build out and dilute to where 50 out of 200 links becomes 50 out of 2,000 links. Mm-hmm. And even then it's still sketchy. It's something that we always in that case pretty much always recommend getting a new domain name.
So with regards to things like citations for the local business, are they still as relevant today for ranking as they used to be? Yeah, absolutely. So we're even though we're trying to go after, relevant like industry related links that are going to be, those are going to be the most powerful thing. You still want to start off with a natural profile. So, Google knows that when anybody goes out and starts their own business, right? Anybody goes out and they start a cleaning company or they start something, what's the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go create a Facebook profile. They're going to go create maybe a Twitter profile, a few of those things, and they're going to talk to all their friends on there and link their friends and say, hey, come like my page. They're also going to go on Yelp. They're going to go on Yellow Pages. They're going to set up some of those basic citations. So we go through and make sure all those are there. We do have citation scraping tools and as well as social scraping tools to find out what profiles they have on both those sites. And that actually is one of the first things we start out. So we don't, we're not going to blast them out all at once. We don't have like a bot that goes and says, here, create 100 citations. That's totally unnatural looking. So we will slowly over a couple months creep in new social profiles and new citations. We don't go on there and make, social posts or anything like that. If a client wants to have some type of social marketing campaign, that's great. That's just not a service we provide, but we do make sure those profiles exist with a little bit of info on the page, as well as a backlink back to their site. And that's something that we start and feed in while we're going out and finding other authority links that are related to them. So let's talk about the search engine result page for a minute and the map pack. That seems to be really nowadays the only thing that is above the fold that is not a paid ad. How important is it to get in that map pack, and how do you do it?
So there's kind of a few different percentages that I look at of what's going to cause that ranking. I would say a good 40% of it is the authority of your site that already exists. So you're not really going to, especially for something that's got some decent competition, like there actually is like 10 people on the first page that would, be viable for that spot. A lot of it's going to be based on the authority of their website, actually, as well as, their citations, what kind of citations they have, whether those citation pages actually have any links to them, whether those citation pages have authority, and then as well as the location. So, Google's big on city centers. Yeah, actually having a location somewhere in the bulk of the city. So the further out your location is from the middle of the city, the harder it actually is to get up there anyway. But it's totally doable. So we very rarely run into a problem where being at the edge of a city makes it so we can't get them in there. It's just going to stifle you on whether you're like first, second, or third.
So, getting back to the previous question that I wanted to answer, and you rank for many cities all over Arizona for your SEO keywords. How are you able to rank in each one of those different cities?
Sure. So that's where we don't necessarily rank in the map pack because we aren't physically located in all these different cities. But in organic search, that's absolutely possible. So what we always recommend for our clients, and if you go through and actually look at our site, if you go and pull up our site in those different cities, what you'll notice is it's essentially our homepage duplicated over. So I find that oftentimes, different companies will have a main page, like their homepage, that has all this great info. It's so laid out perfectly. It has their marketing pitch and everything is all there. And then they'll have like 5 or 6 different city pages, because they're trying to get ranked for those, but it's not anywhere near the same in-depth info. And it's just really spammy all about that location. And that's not what we want to see. So what we typically recommend, and the same thing we do, is we just duplicate that homepage. Obviously we're going to change out things like the title tags and descriptions to match and include the city that they're trying to get found for. But then all the content on that page does need to be rewritten as well to where it is unique content. And then we'll also do want to include some verbiage in there that's specific to that city. So you basically kind of recreating that entire page. As far as anybody looking at the page and as far as the information they're getting, it should be all the exact same. It's just everything needs to be rewritten again in unique content.
So do you still get penalties for duplicate content on local sites? Or, I have heard, I don't know if it's still the same, that there isn't a penalty for duplicate content in local.
It's more lenient in that, but I don't recommend it. We don't let any of our clients have duplicate content. So, just like I was mentioning there, if we were going to, copy those pages and have 6 different pages, I would use something like Copyscape to go through and actually verify that nothing on that page has been found anywhere else on the web. You want to make sure that as far as Google's aware, that is 100% unique content, even though any human that read the 2 pages side by side would be able to say, oh yeah, these are basically saying the same thing, but no 2 sentences are the same across either page.
So as far as a content strategy, what is working right now for the local businesses that you work with?
I'm kind of a firm believer on just making sure at least the content is there. So I know there's a bunch of people out there that say, content is king. They recommend, regular blogging and having a whole bunch of information on their site. And that's just not something we've ever seen, required for showing up for, the keywords you want to get found for. To us, all that matters is that you do have, somewhere around 700 to 1,000 words on the page, well thought out words, things that make sense. But you want to make sure that the keywords, like the actual phrases you want to get found for, I want to make sure that phrase is included, at least a couple of times throughout that page, not spammy by any means. And maybe even one time on that page, but having other variations of how that's said, or maybe the words kind of flip flop. You want to at least have that content there. So, for most of the businesses, the way we recommend structuring their site is to have those city pages, right? They want to have those city pages broken out, but then they should also have a list of service pages. Each one of their individual major services should have its own page. So if you're, an auto shop, an auto store, and you do oil changes versus, tire rotations, or, all the different services you might list out, those should be on their own pages. And then obviously you're going to have the interlinking between those and the city pages, kind of almost at random, but it's good for the Google crawler, and it's good for splitting that link authority all throughout the site. So when you get links to that homepage and it goes through your navigation, you want that link juice being spread all throughout the site.
So how important is the backlinking? Are you still seeing that it is the number one factor of how a page ranks?
Yes. So that's going back to how we get clients. We rank obviously right there at the top for most of these pages. When somebody contacts us and they say, hey, what can you do for SEO? What's your plan? What's your packages? We don't do anything like that. Like, we don't have it's $900 a month and you get this, and this. It doesn't work that way. So, we go through and break down their competition in a video. It's usually about a 15 to 20 minute, customized video that breaks down exactly why they rank where they do and exactly why their competition ranks where they do. And, 99% of the time I can give, as long as I look at everything between their, current, domain authority and page authority, the power that they're getting from their current links, as well as the relevance through their referring domains and their breakdown of anchor text, I can almost always identify, and tell them in very clear reasoning exactly why each site ranks where they do. As long as the information is there, as long as the content is there and the keywords are there, Google doesn't have the best ability to just say, oh, this person's content is way better and this content should be up there. It is all about recommendations. It's when another site links over to you, that is a recommendation to Google that you are an authority source for your information.
And what are some of the, not necessarily quick fixes, but things that you can do that will get an immediate reaction when you look at somebody's site?
So a lot of times we will get clients that have been around for a couple of years and they have built up some natural power already. And what I'll often find, they're ranking like in the 12th spot or 13th spot, just right there at the top of the second page. And I'll go and look in their anchor text and they won't have anything describing their keyword. They won't have anything that says they are a Gilbert plumber. They'll just have a ton of information about or a ton of links about their branding, their URLs, and they'll have something about maybe like a tool they use or something, but they don't have anything in their anchors that actually says like Gilbert or plumber. And those kind of clients are the kind where we can, shoot a couple of authority links, 2 or 3 authority links in just the first few weeks, and often watch them jump right up to the first page within, a month or 2 at most. It's not typical. It doesn't always happen that way, but a lot of times we will find clients that are just primed and ready to where all they need is that little bit of nudge to where they have something in their anchors that actually talk about, the keywords they're trying to get found for.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the misconceptions that you hear then about SEO, Chase?
It's pretty much that content is king. I feel like everywhere I see that content is king message is from people that were around for, 10 years, more than that in the SEO game. And they all got burned. They wanted to use these bot strategies where they had, bots going out and crawling the web and creating all these spammy links and posts. And unfortunately that didn't work anymore. And I don't want to say they didn't put in the effort to learn, really how to do it in a natural way, but it does take a lot of effort. It takes more effort than just creating content to really dig into a backlink profile and actually put that into action, to where it's basically speeding up that process that could happen over years, making sure that's done, in a few months' time in a very natural way that Google would trust.
And what are some of the fears that you hear from your clients? Do you still have people talking about penguin and panda?
Yeah. It's we definitely get those questions where, they want to know kind of in depth how we do what we do. And that's not something we exactly give away. We kind of just let our knowledge shine on obviously their backlink analysis and in the video. But yeah, there's definitely people with fears where, they do again, they read all over the internet that says, hey, backlinks don't work anymore. Content is king. But, you've got to really look at that. If you have 100 different sites all going after the same keywords and they're all, well-designed and they all have a good amount of info in their title tags and their descriptions, and everything is relevant, the only way Google could possibly say who should rank above another is through backlinks.
So how do you describe what backlinks are? Backlinks king?
Backlinks are king. So obviously they work hand in hand with content, though. Like I was mentioning before, you do have to have those keywords, and that's one of the first things we do with any campaign too. We do go through and look and make sure their title tags, their description, the information on their site is all relevant. It's all there, because even with backlinks, if your site is not even telling Google that you want to rank for that info, it's not going to rank. They go hand in hand. But the biggest part of it, the difference maker, is backlinks, hands down still.
Well, let's talk about some of the success that you've had with implementing that strategy. Who jumps to mind? One of your clients that came to you with a problem. What was their problem? How were you able to solve it for them? And ultimately, what difference did it make to their business?
Sure. So our first client as a business, that we got shortly before we left Endurance, and it was kind of helping them on the side. They were spending $2,500 a month in pay-per-click marketing. We actually switched them over to a $1,500 a month SEO campaign, where we were still putting about $500 in pay-per-click to help them just kind of still bring in some regular revenue. But within about 6 months, they basically, they told us that, hey, whatever you're doing is working great. We're getting more clients than we've ever actually had before. And till this day, they're still paying their $1,500 a month SEO bill, because it's killing it for them compared to what they were doing before with their PPC. And obviously, if they ever fell behind or they couldn't make a payment on PPC or something like that, that shut off their lead source. Now, if they decided to for some reason stop marketing with us, they'd actually be in the same position they are yesterday. They're going to continue to get those leads. They might not be expanding into new markets or expanding into new keywords like they are now, but they'd have a solid base, a solid foundation that they would thrive off of for quite some time. We also have, I can't even tell you why, but we have a lot of naturopathic doctors that hunt us down and find us. We've built several naturopathic doctor websites, and I think that's where a lot of them are finding each other from. But if you look at keyword like New York City naturopathic doctor, that obviously one of the biggest search naturopathic doctor keywords there is. That's actually one of our clients there that shows up, first in the map pack, and I think she's like second in organic right now. We're able to in those local markets, even big local markets, that's where we shine.
Excellent. Talk to me about the difference between the quality of lead from a pay-per-click as opposed to an SEO lead.
Yeah, so that's not something I can really touch on too in depth. Yeah, we've messed around with pay-per-click a little bit ourselves, but we don't. It's not typically something that we've had a lot of success with. We've tried to help clients that needed an immediate ROI by building up some simple campaigns for them at the beginning. But it's something that at this point, we've realized what our expertise is, and we don't necessarily offer anymore for people. We'll help give them advice, but we don't, take any managed PPC clients or anything like that. So as far as like our experience with getting a whole bunch of PPC clients, I couldn't necessarily tell you the difference in the quality. I can tell you that the quality of organic leads is great. I know that we personally have a much higher than the industry average conversion rate through our organic leads, and our organic leads are over 50% of our business.
Yeah, the organic leads tend to convert a lot better than the pay-per-click.
That's
the
what
return on investment is usually a lot better with the SEO leads. So, Chase, if somebody is looking for a company to do SEO for their business right now, what kind of questions should they be asking that company?
I would definitely ask if they have any any pre-built packages? Is this something where, it's this cost per month per client all the time? Whether if they have 3 different SEO packages where it's just, 500, 800, and 1200, I would be wary of anything like that, because every client's situation is entirely different on what the amount of work it's going to take to get them ranked. I would also, like we have a client right now, actually, where we went through one of those similar situations I was talking about before, where we had them change out their domain name because they'd gotten burned by a previous SEO company. And that was a company that basically said, hey, here's our package. It's $500 a month. And it includes, 20 web 2.0s. It includes, 20 citations. It includes these fixed numbers of spammy links. And when you see any package, when you see anything out there from an SEO company that just says, here's our list of link packages, you always want to stay away from that. That is extremely dangerous.
Which seems to be the ones that you get in your email, like every other day. You're getting an offer from a SEO company, generally in a different country in the world, that's offering
right.
these exact packages that you're talking about.
Yes. And just the level of care that they have is just not there. And a lot of those people are still burning new clients till this day, this far after Panda and Penguin. So, just like that company that we just switched out the domain name for, and they're in their first month with us, they sent over 3 other proposals that they got beforehand to us to also evaluate the other proposals, and tell them why we were different. And, those proposals ranged from, hey, backlinks are dead in the 2018 ways of Google organic search. It's all about content, and, we're going to be doing regular Facebook posts and creating some blogs for you, those kind of things. That's one thing where I mentioned where, hey, this guy, he might be a great content writer, but he doesn't have the knowledge to tell you that you are totally penalized for all your major keywords that you want to get found for already. They're about 1/4 of their links were the keywords they were looking for, or that 1/4 of their links were the actual keywords they were trying to get ranked for in their anchor text. So I knew they were already spammed to death. And when I went and actually looked at these referring domains and actually went and viewed the pages of a bunch of these referring domains, a lot of them were just crazy article sites that were, 100 pages long, that included things like, adult phone sex and, horrible other links to share those pages with. And these 2 other proposals outside of the first one, they were backlinking companies. So they were talking about how we provide 20 web 2.0s and those kind of things. And all you need to do is sign up for these packages and we'll start getting you ranked. But they completely neglected to mention or include any of this information about how they were already penalized, and any of these tactics that they were going to add on weren't going to make a difference whatsoever, because they were already spammed to death. They were already, their anchor texts were already just way overdone. And they were obviously sharing these horrible links with these, other companies where you do not want to get affiliated with adult links on the same pages that link over to you.
No, definitely not. That is not a good thing at all. So Chase, if people want to reach out to you for help and get that video that you provide that tells them exactly what they need to beat their competition, how is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can go directly through our site. It's premierwebdevelopment.info. And yes, it is a .info. You can rank anything from a .com, .net, .org, .info. It doesn't matter. Or you can give us a call directly at 480-818-5230. We'll be happy to discuss your needs and get something out to you, usually within about 24 to 48 hours.
Well, Chase Bailey, the Backlink King, I've given you a title there, the Backlink King. Thanks very much for being my guest on the Trust Factor Radio. Really enjoyed it, learned a lot. Backlinks are definitely still relevant.
I appreciate it, Neil.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.